ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of NPU Weekly, the weekly webcast show that brings you up to date with all the latest news in the world of North Park athletics. I'm your host, Kevin Shepke, and for the first half of the show, we'll be touching on the North Park football team's unfortunate 58-26 loss to North Central College last weekend, and then in the second half of the show, I'll be bringing you up to date on all the other fall athletics going on campus. Speaking of football, Coach Mike Conway was able to join us this week as we were able to talk to him a little bit about this past week's game against the Cardinals, where the Vikings lost by 58-26, as was mentioned. Looking at some of the highlights, though, however, that game, the Vikings had over 400 yards of total offense, and freshman wide receiver Devin Childress caught 3 touchdown passes in that game. So let's, before we go into anything else, let's go ahead and show you that interview that Mike and I did earlier today about talking about last week's contest. Football coach Mike Conway, the Vikings coming off a unfortunate 58-26 loss to North Central College last Saturday. And Mike was just looking at some of the stats from the game. I mean, it was a pretty solid game offensively from the second quarter on to the fourth quarter. But let's talk a little bit about what the guys were able to do on Saturday.
Well, I think it was 2 weeks. We played Wheaton at North Central, and it's only been 2 weeks, but I think I aged about 2 years over those 2 weeks. It was rough. I mean, you're playing against 2 top 20 teams in the country, and we weren't ready to play against those guys yet. I mean, physically or in any way for that matter. We didn't start out the game very well on either side of the ball the last 2 weeks, and a little disappointed with that. But a lot of it has to do with you're playing 2 great teams too. So I mean, they were in the semifinals and overtime against Mount Union last year. So it's not like it's a tough road for us to start conference play, but it was we had some decent stats. We had over 400 yards. Some of it was late against some of the younger kids though, so it was a little bit deceptive. But we did play well offensively for the most part. We ran the ball pretty well. We made some good throws and some good catches. We had some guys step up offensively, and special teams was we didn't play very well on special teams. A lot of that is due to our we had a lot of young guys playing on our special teams, and some of these teams from the last couple of weeks have really good players. So paid their dues over the years and are playing, and are on their teams and doing a really good job. And we're just not there within our program yet. We need to put a couple years together at the kind of recruiting class we had last year. So, but special teams, we gave up a kick. We had a safety. We gave up a kick return for a touchdown. We didn't do some things real well. And then really, I was really disappointed in our defense. I didn't think our defense played well at all. And I think a lot of it had to do with they were very good, but we just didn't perform at the level that we were hoping to perform at this point. And so we're trying to get those things organized and trying to get it set up, and I'm trying to doing everything I can to try to get us playing better. Certainly on defense and playing better as a team as well, and starting better, because we haven't started well at all. And I'm going to try to do some things differently to figure out a way to get us starting a little better.
Talking about, trying to take some positives out of the game, talking about what Devin Childress was able to do. Caught 3 touchdown passes, over 100 yards receiving. Talking about what he was able to do, just when the ball was thrown to him, just coming in and just making some clutch plays, and talking about what he was able to do.
Well, yeah, I mean, he caught a lot of balls, made a lot of plays. I think TD checked 2 of the touchdowns on his own. I mean, he checked 2 of the touchdowns to Devin, and so our quarterback's making some good decisions, and he's throwing the ball well for the most part. He made a couple bad throws, but some bad reads. But that's going to be still happening, as happens with everybody. But Devin is he's one of our bright young 18-year-olds playing a lot for us, and he's got close to 30 passes already this year in 4 games, and we love the kid. We think he's amazing player for us for a lot of years to come. So huge bright spot for us as well. And we think that if we can get Dakota back this week, we can have him to put with Dan Anderson and with Dan Anderson, and now the emergence of Anthony Burton as a receiver for us, we think we can have a pretty potent attack offensively throwing the football. So there's some good things down the road. We think Dakota might be back here this week or next week.
Oh, okay.
So maybe this week, maybe next week. We're not sure yet, but we're waiting on some final determinations from the surgery that he had. So, but we're pretty excited about. I mean, we're excited. You gotta close the book on what's behind you, and you gotta open a new book on the second half of the season. And we're pretty banged up, and we were the last 2 weeks physically on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
And we're trying to get some guys back healthy for the stretch run here. And it's a pretty exciting time for us. We're going to move forward behind us.
I know you mentioned on Saturday that now this was the first half of the season. Now you guys start the second half of the season coming up. You guys got Elmhurst on the road. Talk about what the plan of attack is going to be for that game now coming up on Saturday.
Well, Elmhurst is playing really well. They've done a nice job. We played them really tough last year, and we just wore down at the end in the fourth quarter. But they've got one of the most dynamic running backs in the conference, without a doubt. Josh Williams, he's outstanding. He's a great. I mean, he ran the ball for 41 times last week for 250 yards rushing against Carthage, and he's a leader. I think he's a leader in our conference in the rushing stats, and he's legit. He's a great football player. I think his brother was a great football player at Elmhurst before him, and he's left. He's every bit as good as his brother. He's a terrific football player. So we're going to have to figure out a way to stop him. Their quarterback has developed really well. This year he's playing a lot better. He's a dual threat guy. So there's no breaks. It doesn't get any easier for us to stop an offense as dynamic as they are.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, we wish you the best of luck this upcoming week, and all the best to you, Mike.
Thanks, Kevin. You too.
Back to throw is Conway. Conway looking for Childress. Touchdown, Vikings! Devin Childress, the 6'4" freshman out of Willowbrook High School, goes up in the air and hauls in the TD Conway pass, and the Vikings are on the scoreboard. Back to throw is Conway. Conway's got it. That's a touchdown. Devin Childress on the reception. His second TD reception of the half. Back to throw is TD Conway. Conway looking over the middle. He's got Terrence Wright. Wright's at the 50, the 40, the 30, the 20, the 10. Touchdown, Vikings! 77-yard touchdown reception by the junior from Chicago Hope Academy, Terrence Wright. That is a career-long touchdown pass for TD Conway. Back. Fake to Butts. Throw by Conway. Touchdown, Vikings! Devin Childress juggling the ball, managed to catch it while on his back in the end zone. Terrific concentration by the freshman wide receiver from Willowbrook High. And Childress has his third touchdown catch of the day.
Again, we wanted to thank Mike for joining us. As I said, the Vikings now will be returning back to action this Saturday when they travel to Elmhurst College. They'll be taking on the Blue Jays for a 1 p.m. contest out at Langhorse Field in Elmhurst for that. So looking at some of the other sports on campus, the men's soccer team continues to dominate this year, as they are off to now a 10-2 record overall and a 2-0 record in the conference. They are in a first-place tie with Wheaton College. They did lose their second game of the season earlier last week, October 8th, lost to UW Whitewater out in Wisconsin. But as I said, they bounced back on Saturday, October 11th, to earn a 4-3 victory over North Central College. Kevin Sang-Yang scored the game-winning goal in the 62nd minute, and both Payson Thame Mosele and Carl Danbear had goals for the Vikings. Peyton Mosle ended up scoring 2 goals for the Vikings that game. One was a penalty kick in the second half, and Carl Danbear also had his goal as well, his first goal of the season. So. Also, in that game, head coach John Bourne improved his overall coaching record to 199, 121, and 37. So now, the 16th year head coach for the Vikings, he will be going for his 200th victory in his coaching career, and he will be joining a very elite group at North Park to get that feat. I believe it's only 5 coaches that have accomplished 200 more victories in their careers. So the Vikings will be taking on Illinois Wesleyan this Wednesday night out in Bloomington. So we will be bringing you live stats for that game as well as a possible video. Should Illinois Wesleyan have that on their website, we can also bring that to you. Looking at some of the other sports, women's soccer, they played UW Whitewater last week as well. They unfortunately lost that game October 8th by a 3-1 decision. Emma Lundeen got the lone goal for the Vikings as she scored in the 11th minute, but Brianna Reed for UW Whitewater scored 3 second-half goals to help the Whitewater, who was nationally ranked at number 24 in the nation at that time, to improve their record. We do have a highlight from that game against UW Whitewater for the women's soccer team, so let's go ahead and show that to you right now.
But now we have a little bit of a daylight. Lundeen's going to catch up to this. Lundeen's got a chance to take something. A shot is taken, but is it? It's a goal! Goal for North Park. Emma Lundeen puts it in for the Vikings with 33:44 remaining here in the match in the first half. And the Vikings had taken a 1-0 lead here on a goal by Emma Lundeen. Goal for North Park.
Yeah, like we said, just a good way to start the game for the Vikings as they held that 1-0 lead going into halftime, but the offense just got pretty strong for UW Whitewater there in the second half for the Warhawks, and they ended up winning that game by that 3-1 score. Looking at some of the other games on campus, the North Park volleyball team, they lost 3-0 to Illinois Wesleyan University. Mona Lisa Fostavelli, this was on October 8th. Mona Lisa Fostavelli notched her 9th double-double of the season in that match. She had 10 kills and 14 digs. That was one highlight for the Vikings in that matchup. And then later on in the week, they traveled to the Tiffany Robinson Memorial Tournament at North Central College, and they unfortunately ended up finishing with an 0-2 record there. They played St. Mary's University of Minnesota, and they played North Central College out there and lost both those matches. They return home this tomorrow night. They will be hosting Elmhurst College. Elmhurst College, another opponent out of the CCIW, and I believe it's a nationally ranked opponent. And they'll be hosting them tomorrow night at 7 p.m. So we hope that you join us on the NPU Live channel, as we'll be bringing you all the live action and play-by-play along with that matchup on our live channel, as well as live stats for that matchup. So, as I said, also coming up too here very shortly on the North Park men's and women's basketball teams will be starting their practices very soon here. The men's team will be starting on October 15th, while the women's team will be starting on October 20th, and the home opener for the men's team is actually on November 15th, where they will be hosting Illinois College. So, we'd like to once again thank you for joining us again for NPU Weekly, this edition of NPU Weekly. I am your host, Kevin Shepke, and I'd like to thank Mike Conway, head coach Mike Conway of the North Park Vikings, for joining us this evening to talk about last week's game, as we wish them the best of luck next week coming up at Elmhurst College. And we hope that you have enjoyed this edition of NPU Weekly, and we hope that you will join us later on this week as we will bring you some more exciting Vikings action with volleyball and some of the other teams on campus. So in the meantime, go Vikings!